everybody. Welcome to Iggy's Fantasy and Betting. I'm so glad to have everybody here. Thank you for joining me. If you're catching it live, if you're coming in later, it's all good. Got a very special week because right now, believe it or not, we are in halftime. And that's not really what makes it special. What really makes it special is I got my Mountain Zone brother joining me today. His name's Dave, man, and I want to get him up here just pretty soon. The show will be live every Sunday at 9 o'clock. And for the first week joining us this week, my man Dave Fantasy.
How's it going?
What's up, man? Got the fire on the mountain playing. I don't know if you can hear it on your end, but it's probably my favorite Dead song, man. And I had to get it on there because we're Mountain Time brothers. There's not too many of us out here in the Forgotten Time Zone, and I really appreciate you with me, man. And if you go check out Dave, where can they find you, real quick, man? Where are you at?
Well, I'm on Twitter at Dave Fantasy. That's where you can find anything that I'm doing. I'm writing a weekly recap article every week at 4 for 4 Football, and I have a weekly column at In Between Media. That's in-betweenmedia.com. And but yeah, if you go on my Twitter page, you'll find links to everything I'm doing, everything I'm writing. So that's the easiest way to do it.
And it's Dave Fantasy, no spaces, just like it's spelled correctly. Everything's pretty easy to find right there from my man. So go give him a follow, go check him out. Like I said, I really appreciate you being here. We met up at the Expo. It was my first year at the Expo, man. You're one of the first people I met on the first day, and then I saw you, I think, every other day there. We were running around like a madman kind of at that thing. But how long have you played fantasy football, man? And what kind of sparked that interest for you? How long have you been a fan of football?
Well, I've been a fan of football, as long as I can remember. I started playing fantasy in the 90s. 97 was my first year. I was some college buddies. So that's how I got my introduction to it. And, just kind of getting more and more into it all the time. Over the years, my love and my obsession with fantasy football kind of grew. Now I'm in a ton of leagues, too many leagues, probably.
Yeah, that's how it goes, man. That's pretty much the same thing for me. My friend Mark, he convinced me. I was like, I don't know if I want to play fantasy, bro. It's my first year at the university. I probably need to be doing my grades. He's like, no, you're not going to be doing anything with school, dude. You're going to need something to occupy your time. I was like, okay. But got on the fantasy train, and I've been playing ever since, dude. So, yeah, it's the cool thing about the Expo is, like, I feel like I've been playing a long time, playing like 13 years. But the truth is, you go to the Expo, everybody there's been playing since the last century, just about. You're a rookie over there, man. But yeah, what do you think about this game, dude? Let's hop right into it. Minnesota, New Orleans at the Tottenham Spurs. I know I got a couple people in the fantasy football sevens league over there. Peter Mundy, I want to say shout out to him. What are you thinking about it?
I'm liking it so far, man. I love getting up early for these London games. It's cool, It gives you an extra game before the actual normal slate starts. And I mean, I can't say I'm not excited about watching Andy Dalton, but, he's actually done a little better than I thought he might. We got a game on our hands here, so.
Yeah, I mean, minus that turnover at the end that he got fumbled, they probably should have just tried to gone into the half. The momentum really wasn't on their side, but let's break it down. 38 rush for the Vikings, 36 rushing yards, 143 passing yards, 4 for 8 on third down, 17-20 on the TOP. 38 rushing yards, 44 passing yards for the Saints. So they're behind in every category, but they were able to make that one good drive. They're going to have to get back to that. I placed I had a free bet to pick the game, and I was like, I placed it on Tuesday. I was like, yeah, the Saints got a chance. I kind of believe in them. This is kind of a rivalry for people that don't really keep up with this matchup. It's kind of like a conference rivalry, if you will, playoff rivalry. And I was like, they're going to do well. Then it's like, no Winston, no Thomas. Right before the game, no Kamara. I was like, man, I should have just gave that to somebody else, or something. Because but it's actually been good. It's a 6-point game. So I think the Vikings were 3 on the spread. So, and I'm with you, man. In our time zone, we wake up, it's raining here. I don't know how it is over there in the northern part of the Rockies or the USA, but man, it's raining right here on me. And I slept late. I was like, oh my God, I thought it was still dark, I was like, yeah, I'm getting up about 30. I'm going to have time. I got up, it was like 8:10. I was like, oh my Lord. But I missed the first quarter, came right into the second quarter. And it's just been, I love it, man. I love football all day. people complain all offseason like, oh, we gotta wait so long for football, and then we get it at different times, and people still complain. I don't know.
Yeah, I think people just like to complain sometimes.
Yeah, man, that's not the Grateful Dead way, man. We got to
That's
be
right.
over here, man. We got to be dancing beautifully. But yeah, they got the second kickoff going. I know you're a big Pittsburgh fan, man. Let's talk about that game first, because I feel like as fans of football, we play fantasy football, and up to the point I love my players more, but I'm always going to be a Packer fan. I got my Packers stand over here.
Sure.
So what are your thoughts about Jets Pittsburgh? It's kind of a dynamic game. I've been really high on Pittsburgh defense, since before the season began. It's kind of carried them. But what are your thoughts about this game and then Pittsburgh in general?
Well, I'm really excited, to know that Minkah Fitzpatrick is ready to go and he's going to play, because he is, he's definitely leading that defense, especially in the absence of T.J. Watt. Important guy for the team. As far as this game today, this is one where I actually feel like the Steelers got to have a chance to win, because the Jets are, not the strongest team out there. With Zach Wilson returning this week, you kind of don't know what it's going to look like. They had Flacco out there throwing the ball 50 times a game every week or whatever. I don't know if they're going to throw the ball. I don't know that they're going to want to throw the ball that much with Zach Wilson, is what I'm trying to say. I know that, their goal for the Jets is going to be to try and have some rushing, ability in this game, to run the ball, use Breece Hall, use Michael Carter, but I don't know what to expect from Wilson. That's kind of up in the air. He's got these emerging wide receivers. Garrett Wilson has already, kind of started his way to stardom here in this Jets offense, so it'll be good for them as a team if Zach Wilson comes in and looks at home, running the offense. But speaking of offenses, the Pittsburgh offense is what's really going to make or break how this game turns. If they're able to move the ball, if they're able to score, they're going to beat the Jets. But that's exactly the rub right there, is with Mitchell Trubisky, they haven't really shown much ability to score. So it's, that's what the whole situation kind of hangs on. Mike Tomlin comes to the press conference every week and tells us that Mitchell Trubisky's improving in every facet of his game, so I haven't seen it on the field. I don't know exactly what Tomlin's watching, but I'm hoping to see some of that this week, especially with the extra couple days off, because they played on Thursday last week. I just want him to look prepared. I just want him to look ready, out there against the Jets and look like they have an offensive game plan.
Yeah, that's an interesting point right there. I think, to Trubisky's credit, Harris has been hurt. How bad would Big Ben have been if we didn't have Harris to lean on so bad last year? So I think he's the gears of that offensive motor. He's the big gear, really, in my opinion. So once Harris gets back to health, it could be there. I think what's happening is Kenny Pickett's just not ready, man. I think he's just not ready, and he's afraid if he throws them out there to the Wolves, being the only first-round pick. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like if you allow some players to develop, it does them so much more time. But like as a rookie, if they go out there and they underperform year 2, year 3, Justin Fields, perfect example. He's going to get a lot of the blame here pretty soon of how they will go. So I think they're trying to protect him, but somebody's got to step it up. Mitchell's going to have faith in those amazing wide receivers like Claypool and Johnson, and getting the ball out to Booth more. I think that's part of it. But I've always said this. I think Mike Tomlin's, the second best coach in the NFL right behind Bill Belichick. I think he deserves all the credit. He always is able to pull a rabbit out of the hat somehow and save the season. They've already got the tie out of the way. No, they didn't get the tie. I'm sorry, they didn't get that tie.
They haven't yet, but they always do. They always find one.
Almost had the tie out of the way first game, but I have faith in them. But this is kind of I wouldn't say it's a must-win game. It's a game that they're favored and they got to win it. You know what I'm saying? Zach Wilson coming back out is week 1. The defense looks good. I think Quan Alexander is going to be starting. It's something to keep an eye on. He wasn't a starter. He was a starter, and now he isn't a starter and barely made the roster. I don't think he would have made a roster if it wasn't for Robert Saleh kind of taking him in. But that's going to be an interesting matchup to watch to see if they can exploit it. Mitchell Trubisky may be looking at Booth more, maybe getting a little bit more rushing yards, but I still think Quan Alexander is an underrated running back. If they're smart, they're going to try to take advantage of some of these backups. I do feel like the Steelers should win this game, though. I'm right there with you. It's kind of a get-right game for Trubisky. He's just got to have faith in those pass catchers, man, because I still don't think Harris is 100%. I think he's just a tough guy, toughing it out, Pittsburgh mentality kind of thing going on over there. So we'll have to see what's happening with that going forward, man. I do want to go ahead and switch gears over to New England, Green Bay. Man, it's just like the most neglected game of the week, just about. Well, at the end of the show, I'll read through all the betting lines. Throughout the week, man, I wrote an article on my Patreon. There were 8 games with like less than plus 120 odds, which just tells you the book didn't really know where these games were going. They didn't understand who the clear favorite was, who's going to come out and control this game. The questionable tags put a lot on it. So I just kind of thought that was familiar. But the Green Bay Patriots game has been like the only one well above it, like not even worth looking at kind of from a betting standpoint on the game line. But
right.
Interesting. Green Bay's doing what they always do. Bad week 1. Get that one out of the way. Lack of preparation, lack of rhythm. I'm a big rhythm person in this sport, especially. It's like the team with the best rhythm usually wins. It's not necessarily a team with the best athlete, the best game plan. If you got to be in that rhythm, and it just takes them so long to be in that rhythm. But they're looking good. The Pats, without you're going to have Hoyer in, which could be maybe an upgrade. You never really know. He's got the experience. It's not like he's never played in a game or anything. So we'll have to see how that'll be with Mac Jones kind of already playing hurt as it was, and then getting really hurt. But I expect this to be a running back game. There's a narrative out there that you can run on Green Bay. That's not true. They could get run against them. Leonard Fournette had awful rushing totals against them, but the Bears were able to run against them. But they basically quit passing in the second half when they were down against them. They just kind of ran and ran and ran. So with that, do you have any shares of Harris, Stevenson, Dillon, Jones? Do you have any of those running backs?
I do have a little Ramondre going today, and I'm kind of excited about it because I think that's exactly what they're going to want to do. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how they do match up against Green Bay in the run game. But I know that with Hoyer there, like you said, it's not really too big of a switch for them because he's been on and off that roster with the Patriots, 4 or 5 times. I mean, if anybody knows what they want to do on offense, it's Hoyer. He understands the playbook and knows that offense real well. But I think that they're still going to want to kind of lean on the run game to the best of their ability. So having Ramondre in this game is, I feel like it's going to be a good day for him fantasy wise. I think he'll get in the end zone, and so I'm happy to play him. I put him in a couple different spots, and it's fortunate too because I had Montgomery in one of those spots, and so I slide in Stevenson. Works out for me.
Keep that in mind. If you got an IR spot, go snag Ty Montgomery, man. He looked to be a big part of the offense. He just got hurt week 1. But I'm with you. I got one share of Vermont Stevenson in my redraft leagues, and I plugged him in because I expect there to be some touchdowns. I don't think they're going to trust Hoyer against that secondary. The Green Bay defense in the red zone has actually been pretty decent. So I think they're going to try to trust Stevenson down there and just kind of pound. So I do expect there. As far as Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, I kind of expect the other inverse to be true. Aaron Rodgers likes to throw for touchdowns in the red zone, but they like to move the ball with, Jones and Dillon. The Patriots have been giving up some decent yardage on the ground, particularly because they've been behind more or less in the second half. But I do expect there to be some games there, but it's all about the touchdown. But I think you can kind of start all 4 of these people. I think this game is going to be kind of an old school kind of style football game with a lot of running. Afternoon game, probably a lot of clock being used because that's how Bill Belichick likes to run a game, and that's how Matt LaFleur likes to run a game. They like to control the pace of the game as much as possible. So from a fantasy standpoint, watch out. Just got a pick right here. It looks like Andy Dalton doing Andy Dalton things, bro. Oh, my Lord. Boy. Who was it? Boy, I didn't get to see it. I'm trying to give you guys a live update on there. Where's the ball? Was it an interception? Fumble. Is he down? That's a tough call. You might have lost it.
I can't tell.
I can't tell where the ball's at either. I can't tell where they're at on the field of play. They'll review it. It kind of looks like it, but they don't watch at slow speeds on the replays. They watch at full speed. So I don't know. All right. Well, yeah, that's how wrapping up that game. I just love talking about Green Bay because I spend so much time preparing for them each week. So it's like, why would I just deny everybody the game I spent the most attention on? But how do you feel about just give me some running backs and wide receivers and some tight ends if you want that you think will have a good game or a good week this week. Excuse me. If you have, I know I kind of do that at your last second, but
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it's going to be kind of fun week for a few different guys. I always like to get Nick Chubb in whenever I can, so I'm kind of looking to do it again. But yeah, I don't. Oh shoot, I just froze up here. Having a little computer difficulty here, bro.
Did I freeze? I think I'm the one that froze. I think you're good. Sometimes my video screen freezes. Let me pull up. I got a list right here. I'll just pull it up on my sleeper. This is off of Fantasy Football 7's format. I'm right there with you. Chubb is kind of like a weekly must start for me. This is just the points breaking down in this. You got Barkley too. Robinson. Surprise, surprise, Mister. I got to prove everybody wrong again. Robinson. And then we got Patterson in fourth. Khalil Herbert actually with 52 points. Man, I got him in so many best balls. So I'm really
he had a week. He had a week last week. That was amazing.
Yeah, and he's playing the Giants. I mean, Barkley and Herbert. Who would have thought coming into Week 4 that's a top 5 running back matchup? It's just kind of blows my mind that we got both of those.
Yeah, it's wild, but it's a good matchup against the Giants. I mean, you can exploit that in the run game. I mean, I like it. I think it's favorable.
Like if he has trouble, you got more opportunity as well. Swift out, man. Not the biggest Swift fan because of that reason. Mixon, he's already played, though. Clyde Edwards-Helaire actually in the top 10. A lot of people telling you to fade him. C-Mac holding it down. Then Jonathan Taylor, they're in the double digits. Javonte Williams doing all right despite, how he's kind of splitting carries. He's getting a lot of touchdowns. That's what he's getting carried with right now.
Yeah, I kind of like his matchup against the Raiders today too. Starting Javonte Williams is a good move today.
And then Melvin Gordon, and then King Henry. What are your thoughts on King Henry? Let's get a temperature check right here on these two guys. Hold down, looks like a 15 and 16 with Gibson and Henry. What are your thoughts on those two guys?
I don't think Henry looks like himself so far this year. I mean, we're used to seeing him just like out there like a dump truck running over people, and it's just not quite the same this year. But I think that Tennessee offense overall is kind of, dragging a little bit right now. They did not start off the season the way they wanted to, I mean, they lost those first 2 games. I was actually talking to some Tennessee fans on that first weekend. We were out at a bar and right when that Giants game was getting started, and I was basically just telling them, yeah, you guys are going to cruise today. This is going to be an easy win for you. You should just run the ball and flatten these dudes. And that is not the way it turned out, So
yeah.
I still believe in Henry, but he doesn't look like himself.
No, he doesn't look like himself. So somebody has a lot of shares of him. And man, Saints defense. Justin Jefferson caught the ball on the first pass off the turnover, went all the way down, and then they just got shut down inside the red zone. Vikings having trouble getting punching it inside the red zone, man.
Yeah, I think that wasn't the greatest pass, but I think Jefferson should have had that in the end zone there.
Yeah, he kind of looked like he ran out of gas there at the end. So Minnesota getting it done with field goals in this game. Yeah, man, I totally agree with you. As somebody that has a lot of Henry shares, I just like, man, get it going. But all 2 offensive linemen going down, and they should have won against the Giants. I took that 7-point spread. Like, as long as your team goes up by 7, you win. I was like, this one has to be easy money. Titans are going to just blow right through this, and then no, sir.
Right.
Danny Taylor has come back with a good game, man. So credit to him for that comeback, but. Yeah, so let me write down right here. Give me one running back. Do you want Chubb this week? Is that who you were going to take?
Yeah, Chubb against Atlanta. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that's who I was going to take. So let me see here. I'll pick somebody else. No worries. There's plenty of good ones. And actually, I'll go wild card here. I'm going to take Khalil Herbert. So I got Herbert running right here. This is going to be half-point PPR. I'll calculate it, and I'll post it after Monday how we did. What we're doing, people, is I kind of throwing this on Dave right before we started. I got to give shout-outs to the fantasy football diehards. I listen to Mike Dempsey and Bob Harris, and Wednesday night's kind of my favorite show because they do this thing with the audience. They do it with the special guest, and then they do it with the audience. And it's just you only get one draft. You get one position, and they draft like 4, I think. and you only get one through the entire season. So that concept's pretty cool. I don't have a production team. I mean, you're looking at it. So to make it a little, but we won't be keeping tracks, but just a fun little thing to do. Because honestly, drafting's pretty fun. So since you got the first running back, I got the second running back. I'm going to go wide receiver this week. And I'm going to go with somebody that I think might surprise some people, especially if they play with a negative game script as anticipated. I'm going with Christian Kirk, man. I was high on him on the offseason. I've really enjoyed his production this year. I thought Trevor Lawrence, I thought people were too quick to judge. It's something I've really seen happen a lot in the past 2 or 3 years in the fantasy industry, Dave, and you tell me if you've seen this as well. Just people ready to, judge people like I told you, Fields and Carter and Lawrence, and some of these people are like, man, those guys are no good. Get them out of there. Get them out of your lineup. Whoop-de-woo. I'm like, man, this guy's on his second year, still on the rookie contract. But I'm taking Kirk. But real quick, what do you feel about Trevor Lawrence? He's kind of like, there's a lot of opinions both ways on him.
Oh, it's no secret that I'm really high on Trevor Lawrence this year. I've been talking about it on Twitter and stuff. I believe in him making the jump, making a nice step forward. He barely had a chance last year. He had that Urban Meyer coaching staff. They didn't know what they were doing with the guy. They were setting him up for failure. I know that there were bumps and bruises and it looked rough at times, but then there were little flashes. There were moments, different throws that he made, a couple of touchdown passes that he had last year where you could see it and you're like, oh yeah, it's in there. Like the talent's in there. This kid's going to be good. And, I think Doug Peterson and that coaching staff is the perfect recipe for this kid, because they're quarterback friendly. They know how to build up quarterbacks. Look how well, he did with Nick Foles when the Eagles won that Super Bowl, and Nick Foles was the quarterback during that playoff run. He got Nick Foles ready and man, had him playing effectively. So I believe that Doug Peterson can bring out the best in any quarterback. And when you're talking about Trevor Lawrence in the first place, the best in him is pretty damn good. So, I think that it's going to be a great season. I've liked it so far. The pass catchers, everybody kind of poo-pooed it in the offseason, like, oh, they're bringing in Christian Kirk and Zay Jones and Evan Ingram, big deal, but those guys can ball, and it looks like they've got some rapport with Trevor Lawrence. That offense has some juice, really does, so I think it's great. And, to continue this draft conversation, I'm going to stay in that same game, and I'm going to take A.J. Brown because I think there's going to be a lot of points scored today in that Jacksonville-Philadelphia game. And Jalen Hurts, speaking of quarterbacks that I love, Jalen Hurts is another quarterback that I love this year. I wrote up in an article on In Between Media, my hot take article. Seth asked me to make it spicy, and so my hot take was Jalen Hurts is going to finish as the quarterback 1 in fantasy, which, he's still got a little ways to go, but it's definitely within the realm of possibility here. So,
on pace, for sure, man. As long as you keep So go ahead and you get a flex, man. No QB. Like I said, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and then I'll kind of piggyback off of what you said. You're preaching to the choir over here with Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Doug Peterson. I'll comment on that. But yeah, any flex, running back, wide receiver, tight end, half-point PPR.
Yeah, well, this is one where I'm going to get a little risky. I'm going to take T.J. Hawkinson.
All right.
Going against Seattle today. I like that matchup a lot. I think he's got a chance to score a touchdown. I think, he should be involved if they can get him, multiple targets. Also, the idea that, Amon-Ra's out, Swift is out, a lot of their big-time playmakers are out. So I think that they're going to look to Hawkinson to kind of bridge the gap and be the guy who makes some plays in this game. And so that's why I'd like to have him today.
No, yeah, I've heard that been hopped up a lot too. Noah Mine, they could be playing with the negative game script as well. So, and I just wanted to say, I've always thought Doug Peterson got kind of done badly and got shown to exit, but he comes from the Mike Holmgren tree. He was he was a backup to Brett Favre while Mike Holmgren was on the Super Bowl, and he went from there. He went and studied under Andy Reid, followed him underwear around, and then went on to win the city's first Super Bowl. I think he's a great QB whisperer, and I knew right away whenever he became, had in charge of the personnel, which it looks like he does have a pretty good say so. He went and targeted Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. I was like, man, they're using people that get off the line quick and create that little separation to help Trevor Lawrence. But actually, they've been using him in more intermediate routes too. They've been going deeper than what Murray was using Kirk with. So I absolutely believe it. And I'm going to stay in the same game, man. I kind of think that this is going to be a big day for DK Metcalf. I think he's going to be able to get past that secondary. I think he's due a big catch. That's another game I think there's going to be a lot of points in. It's going to be very interesting from a fantasy perspective to watch that one, I believe. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. We chose I almost took A.J. Brown because he's going to have a good game, but I was like, man, I think Jags might be playing from behind. Might get a few more passes his way. So just to recap, you got Chubb, A.J. Brown, T.J. Hawkinson. Then I have Herbert, Kirk, and Metcalf, man. So kind of an interesting little matchup right there, So we'll see how it unfolds. I'll keep track of that. Like I said, we'll talk about that next week, man. Is there any other wide receivers you wanted to talk about that you think might have a good week? We kind of glazed over them really quickly, just to kind of go back to there before I get to IDPs.
Yeah, we did kind of blitz past the wide receivers. Well, I wanted to comment on what you said about DK Metcalf. I think that's an interesting choice there, but are you at all worried about Jeff Okudah, who looks like he's shutting down some top receivers this year so far?
Yeah, he has been shutting them down. They've been kind of attacking more the center of the field, but no, I think DK is going to match up pretty well on him, actually. And I'm not sure if they're going to exclusively use him on DK or if they're going to try to put him something in the pocket as well. Geno Smith is leading the NFL and accuracy, or whatever that completion percentage is the official stat. So I think Geno's been kind of taking this long to develop to become the QB he is. He had to sit behind Russell Wilson, learn from Pete Carroll. Take care of the football. This is the most important aspect of Pete Carroll, kind of with the way he coaches that team. So I think there's potential there. He could be playing well. The teams are getting past the second level on them. So we'll see.
All right. Well, another receiver that I am kind of excited about watching today is Courtland Sutton against the Raiders. I think that could be a sneaky, high-scoring game there. And Russell Wilson needs to get his mojo back. So I'm hoping to see him make a few downfield plays to Courtland Sutton. A couple of wow plays. It's the Broncos need it. Let's face it, they need that offense to get real and get real in a hurry. Sorry, I had a neighbor kid knocking on my door there. I didn't want the dogs to start barking.
No worries, man. No worries. Yeah, I'm with you there. Actually, when the guys go ahead and say it, I kind of end the show with some of my bets I've taken. There's one on Caesar, Russ over 224.5 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown. I think Courtland Sutton's with you. I'm right there with you. I think this is going to kind of be a big on the passing wise because no Hobbs. Is Hobbs out still? I know he might be back this week actually. He might be back, so I'll have to take a look at that. I want to say, what's up, Sam? Thanks for popping up, man. Glad you're here, man. I know you're happy about the boys. It's old rivalry. I guess Cowboys Commanders still has a nice ring to it. So I know I'm pumped about that one. Yeah, man. I don't. Other wide receivers I kind of like. I'm with you on Sutton. I kind of think CeeDee Lamb's going to have a good game, honestly, in that one. I think Terry is going to have a good game. It's weird because Diggs, he'll make that one big play, and it'll be all people highlight from his – he makes it when he needs to. He does rise to the occasion. I can't deny that. But he got burnt a lot in that game, actually, and I just think that I think that Lamb and Scary Terry both are due probably for a good game. This is a rivalry game. It's kind of one of the biggest rivalries in the NFC, I think. So I think that would be an interesting matchup to watch up. I kind of hinted at it earlier. I think Deontay Johnson, he can get it together. Very cool. One of those two are going to have a breakout game. I think Trubisky, maybe he gets a little confidence playing against the weak secondary, so to speak. And I expect one of those two to have a big game as well.
That would make me happy. I hope that comes true.
Let's see here. I'm going to try to pop up the screen. It's kind of frozen on my end. I hope it's not on you guys yet right now. But just to highlight some IDPs, I'll bring up the screen. One of them I already mentioned in the story, Cameron Jordan. He's already got a sack and a QB hit. And, man, Johnson, the converted tight end, man, he's playing well with Andy Dalton. Keep this in mind. With Hoyer, who are the wide receiver twos? Because they're the people going to play well. Look, who just caught that pass? Wide receiver two, Caldwell. he goes and catches passes from Andy Dalton every practice and scout team. These QB2s, they're going to throw to the people that they have the familiarity with, not necessarily the stars. Like down here, he might look for Olivier. But
that's where we're seeing a little bit of that with Noah Brown and Cooper Rush.
Oh man, I thought he was gonna get in, dude. I thought he was gonna QB sneaking in the red rifle, man. That's what I said in the Warrior Bowl group chat, man. I know we kind of keep going back to this game, but this is exciting. I was like, I think this is the last ride of the red rifle, man. And I think
probably.
I grew up in Fort Worth, so I remember Andy Dalton's undefeated season quite well, actually. He's kind of still a local legend. It's like him and Sammy Ball, like the only quarterbacks to ever do that. For that university. Pound it in. Let's see what they got. Come on, Murray. There you go, baby. Woo. Hey, we got a ball game, dude. We got a ball game here. 15-16.
You're like just a little bit ahead of me too, because you keep talking about everything happening and it hasn't happened yet on my screen.
I'm so sorry, man. I hate when
that's all right.
Usually I'm the one behind. Usually I'm safe. I'm so sorry about that. But yeah, man, that's just what happened. But it started for me. I'm sorry, guys. I get distracted sometimes. I love football, man. I just love watching the game. But I had Cameron Jordan. He's already got a sack. Almost had another one. Cameron Jordan is just one of those guys I've been watching for a decade. And when the lights are on, primetime games and so forth, he's all go, man. He's the guy to do it. So I have him listed. I think he's going to do well. I think I've already hinted at this game, but I think Jonathan Allen, Washington Commanders. His stats are okay. He's kind of filling up. He's got passes defended. He's got QB hits. He's got tackles for losses. He just doesn't have that big game. And I don't know. The tape's out there on Cooper Rush. Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio. Here's what I like to say. They need to hear that loud popping sound. You know what that loud popping sound is, Dave?
What's that?
That's their head popping out of their ass, buddy. And they need to hear that, man, because there's too many studs on that defense for them to be giving up this many points. And I think Allen's due for a good game. That offensive line's been holding up, but they're going to get a real test. The Cowboys are going to get a real test against Payne and Allen and Hook Curl if he comes down on the line. So I think Jonathan Allen's due for a game. Chris Jones, man, for the Kansas City Chiefs, he's going to have a great game against these Bucs. And no Gay still. He's out on suspension. So I watched Jones. They kind of line him up on the outside until they realize there's a mixed match. And then they start moving him all across the line. They'll move him like in a B gap and twist him over to the other A to exploit a guard. And guess what? There's a backup center, and I believe there's a backup tackle in for the Bucs this week. So Jones could have a monster week. Tom Brady, they're getting the ball out of his hands quick, so I don't know if he can get a sack per se, but he's going to wreck that offensive line. I believe that. Mikael Walker, man, we've already talked about Chubb, dude. We've already talked about what kind of game we expect from Chubb. Who's on the opposite end of that? Walker. He's actually going to be one of the tackles later. So I expect him to get his hands full kind of more as much as he can handle this week. Chubb and Hunt, I think they're going to run both of them pretty hard. Malcolm Rodriguez, everybody's favorite Hard Rock Garland. People are
man, I loved him.
Yeah, everybody loves him, man. He's happy but I think people worry about snap percent. In offense, that's kind of a bigger deal. On defense, defensive line, linebackers, they rotate in packages, and they get to play with fresh lungs, fresh legs against offensive linemen and tight ends and stuff that really don't get a whole lot of breaks. So
right.
I kind of worried about it because every time he's out there, he's around the ball or he's on the ball. And on top of that, he's getting targeted in the pass game quite a bit. So Gino, he could be dumping off to the tight ends. Maybe they bring Metcalf across the slant and Rodriguez his zone. I think he's due for a great week. I feel the same way about Queen, dude, on the Bills game. We didn't really highlight that game at all. It's kind of the marquee game, Bills versus Ravens. Queen.
It's going to be fun.
Okay. He's kind of come on the line a little bit more, but I think as soon as he's in coverage, Josh Allen's just going to be like Knox, Gabe, right to him. So I expect a high tackle volume game from him. And then just real quick on the defensive side of the ball, McCray, a rookie, I like to put about 2 or 3 weeks. Hey, you lead your team 2 weeks in tackles. It doesn't matter if you're getting targeted in the pass game. It doesn't matter if you're coming to help out in the run game. That's not a fluke. You're not going to fluke your way to leading your team tackles 2 out of the first 3 weeks of the year. Keep an eye on him. Kind of a surprise, Ward for the 49ers. He's going to have to step it up as a leader in the secondary. It's a big week against the Rams. The Rams are kind of pass happy, even though Cup didn't get a lot of passes. Iggy, Swanhook, I can't ever say his name correctly, Robinson, they're getting targets as well. So I think the passes will be there. And then Jones for New England, like I said, if Green Bay controls this game, if they run as much as I think they're going to, if Aaron Rodgers kind of does some, he threw to Tunyon a lot too last week. Tunyon had 7 targets, I believe, last week, caught 4 of them. So that's another name to keep in mind. Jones, 2 of those guys are in the secondary, are probably available on all waiver wires too. Do you have any IDPs that you want to talk about, Dave, or any like you study that side of the ball that much, or no?
Yeah, a little bit. There's a couple guys I'm excited about this week. I've been loving Frankie Louvu in Carolina over this whole season so far. I mean, he's really, really showing up well. I think he has another big game today. Speaking of your Packers, I'm kind of excited to watch Devondre Campbell today. I think he could, have some impact in that game, especially with the way that, we've already spoken about how, the Patriots are going to try and keep the ball on the ground as much as possible. I think he could show up big. I previously mentioned Minka. I think Minka is going to have a big day for Pittsburgh. I think he needs to in order for them, to come out on the right side of this game. But I do think they're going to win this game. So I think that's going to, I'm expecting Minka to arrive, to show up today.
No, he's being the captain that he's supposed to be, man. With TJ Watt going down, I mean, my God, in my fantasy football sevens, he had 40 points as a DP. But I get a block kick 8 because I was like, if you block a kick, you're only going to get if you're lucky, 2 of those your entire career. And Fitzpatrick called out on that game with an interception, block kick, fumble recovery, I think, 10 tackles. And I was like, yeah, you got to reward those career games. Somebody was upset about it. He's not going to get it, but he is stepping up. He's on an all-pro year. He's having an all-pro caliber year, man. And let's not forget Highsmith, how well he's coming along right now. Let's not forget old man Cameron Hayward plugging the hole. Those guys are great. Cameron Hayward was my play last week. He did stuff. Go look at his stats last week. He did absolutely wonderful. That defense, nothing to worry about over there. I can't agree with you more, though. Fitzpatrick's going to be a good one. Campbell's my guy. I placed a free bet for him to win Defensive Player of the Year. He's on pace to do it, man. He doesn't leave the field. He's averaging. Oh, fake punt! Fake punt! Oh man, I ruined it for you again. I won't tell you that.
I was just thinking. I'm like, I can't wait to see this fake punt. Yeah, they're about to punt, or about to go out there. Actually, I think I'm way behind you. I don't know how I am so far.
Tell you the outcome. We'll see. Tell me what you think about that.
All right.
Yeah, the IDP's looking good, man. I really like them. Those are just some of the ones. I'm still trying to rank the rankings. I'm not doing something right. They don't have IDP on the app, so I'm having trouble with that. But I promise you I'll get them by the end of the year for everybody that, loves the week-by-week rankings. But I've been writing this article for 7 years. I do a lot of work on mismatches I think can happen, and most of the time these hit. I feel like Cameron Jordan's been there for us so far.
I loved that fake punt, by the way. That was pretty great. And I think, pulling it out in London in front of the London crowd, what a time to run a fake punt, right?
Yeah, man. I like it. You got to go for it sometimes. I mean, this game's close. The people probably thought it was going to be a blowout. It's a pretty tight game, actually, but they needed that momentum. They needed to keep that momentum because all the momentum was on the Saints there for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm glad it is a game. That's when I was waking up this morning, I was just like, I hope it's just competitive and that, this has been fun to watch. It's a good game.
Yeah, I realized a lot of these guys weren't there in that play. Oh, Cameron Jordan. Oh, man. Sorry, I keep rooting for you, Dave. I'm getting into this game. We'll wrap it up here real quick, everybody. I know everybody's watching this game too. I just want to give some lines real quick. I'm going to run through them real quick, my man, and then and maybe, I don't know if you're a bettor or anything at all, but, I feel like I look at bookies. And people ask me, what do you use for your stats? I look at Pro Football Reference. Obviously I do. But I mainly look at next-gen stats. I look at how my stats perform on my old Dead League on NFL.com, which is ran by Next Gen Stats, which is the official stats of the NFL. And I also look at the bookies. When it comes to betting sports, bookies can be wrong. Everybody can be wrong. It's a gamble. But there's the thing about it is there's thousands of these guys per sports book. And all they do is look at these matchups. So there's thousands of information, basically a think tank every week on every game. So I kind of use that as somewhat of a baseline. I haven't done this in a while, so I'll try to run through this pretty quick for everybody. We got Buffalo Bills at actually I skipped a game. There we go. We got Jacksonville Jaguars at Philadelphia Eagles, 6.5 point spread for the Eagles at the moment, 44 points on the over-under, plus 220 for the Jags, negative 260 for the Eagles. Buffalo Bills at Baltimore Ravens. 3-point spread for the Bills, 50 points on the over-under, negative 170 for the Bills, plus 145 on the Ravens. Titans at Colts, it's going to be a good game. That's a divisional matchup that we need to be paying attention to more. 4 points on the spread, 43 points on the over-under, negative 190 for the Colts. The line has shifted toward them dramatically in the past 3 days, plus 160 for the Titans. Chargers at Texans should be a blowout. I don't know what to expect from this game. 6 points on the spread, 45.5 on the over-under, plus 220 for the Texans, negative 260 for the Chargers. Lines moved quite a bit once Herbert was confirmed. Browns at Falcons, a game that we've been talking about a lot. Listen to this line, man. 1 point spread for the Browns, 48 points on the over-under, negative 120 for the Browns, plus 100 on the Falcons. Really tight game. If you're looking for an edge, I think the Browns are going to win it. They should be undefeated. We'll highlight that game maybe real quick. Commanders at Cowboys, 3 points on the Cowboys, 41 points on the over-under, negative 165 for the Cowboys, plus 140 for the Commanders. Bears at Giants, 2.5 point spread for the Giants, 38.5 on the over-under, the lowest over-under of the week. Negative 145 for the Giants, plus 125 for the Bears. Jets at Steelers, here you go, baby. 3 point spread for the Steelers, 41 points on the over-under, negative 165 for the Steelers, plus 140 for the Jets. Pretty tight line, honestly. Kind of the most intriguing game of the week. The bookies have no idea what to do with this game. They've kept it flat. They're not giving us a lot of props. 1 point spread for the Carolina Panthers. Arizona at Carolina, 43.5 points on the spread. Negative 115 for the Panthers. Negative 105 for the Carolina Cardinals. So, no positive money. The bookies aren't giving there. 2.5 point spread. Broncos at Raiders. Actually, a 2.5 point spread on the Raiders. 45 points on the over/under. Negative 140 on the Raiders. Plus 120 on the Broncos. I think they're going to win that game. Maybe I'm a little bit of a homer being here in the mountains, man. That's just probably the case.
No, I'm with you.
You really like that too. I don't get it. The Raiders haven't displayed that they can win a game. So I'm having some doubts about that. And keep in mind the Cardinal Panther game, that's an afternoon slot game. We only have 3 games in the 225, 205 slot, whatever you want to call that slot. So if you get red zone, or even if you don't, we're going to be watching a lot of these 3 games. Broncos and Raiders, like I just said, I think Broncos are good on the plus money. Patriots versus Packers, 9.5 point spread on the Packers, 40 points on the over-under, and a 9.5 point spread. That's bad offense prediction for the Patriots. Plus 350 for the Pats. Negative 435 for the Packers. Absolutely nothing to bet on there. Sunday night, we got Chiefs at Bucks. What a way to wrap up a day of football, huh, Dave? My goodness,
that should be a good one.
Negative 1 point spread on the Bucks. 46 points on the over/under. No plus money on the Chiefs or the Bucks. Negative 115 on the Bucks to negative 105 on the Chiefs. Man, you got a couple games right there that are pretty much dead even if you wanted to put a parlay and put some small money on it. Rams at 49ers, 1.5 point spread for the 49ers. 42.5 points on the over/under, negative 125 for the 49ers, plus 105 for the Rams. My man, what of those games pop out to you?
Well, I mean, just the one you were just mentioned. I cannot see the 49ers winning this game. So I think that I don't know how they get a 1.5 point spread. But yeah, I don't do a lot of betting because we can't do it here in Idaho, but I do, pick against the spread on my little ESPN, pick'ems and stuff. So,
Right.
I get into some of these games, and some of the ones that I really do like is I like the Steelers. I think they're gonna win. I think they're gonna cover. So that's one where I would go with today. The over/under on that Buffalo-Baltimore game. That's crazy, man. That's a big one. I don't know. I think I'd go the under on that. Actually, I don't think they're going to hit it. So
I don't. Both of those secondaries are banged up, and this is probably MVP front runner and MVP front runner B. And you could put either one in the A or the B spot. I think so, but I don't know. I got Marcus Williams to cover my IDP prop bets. Marcus Williams over 4.5 tackles, negative 145. An assist counts as 1, a tackle counts as 1, so he needs 5. He's been getting about 9. So
yeah, that sounds safe.
Yeah, that one's good. And then I took Michael Walker. They gave him a high one, 7.5. He's going to have to be in on some tackles. But I just see Chubb, Hunt, and Njoku, because they're probably going to have Casey Hayward on Amari Rastamari, as I like to call him, Rastamari. And I think that's going to be a little bit better matchup than he had last week. Mari Cooper's always been kind of hated on. I thought he was going to be. He's being exactly who I thought he would be for the Raiders. When he was at the Raiders, can anybody even name another wide receiver that was with him? I mean, it's so difficult. It was only a few years ago, but that's the reason he was so good. Nobody else was there to catch the ball. Like until Waller kind of came out after him, there was nobody there, dude. And so I think that's what's happening in Cleveland. People Jones isn't doing nothing. Swan Cook or whatever his name is, he's not doing anything. It's all Cooper and Njoku. But I do like Mikael Walker over 7.5. That's at -125. I do kind of want to build something with you here. It's just something fun. I'll place a low wager on any parlay I place. It's a low wager because parlays are hard, guys. If you're out there betting, be careful. There's a reason all these bookies want you to put 3 legs to get a boost on something. It's so hard to hit 3 things, man. So just be careful and keep that in mind. But we're going to place it because I get a boost right here. And we'll close out the show with this, Dave. Just building out a boost so we can get an hour to set our lineups. You know how it is, man. It takes me 40 minutes to set my lineups. I didn't get this game. I got one with Gary Davenport, the Oasis Brouhaha. You only get to play one play. You only get to play them once a week, but it's like a full roster. So that one takes me like 15 minutes just to get it loaded, But right here, so we've already talked about it. So let's do I used to build this thing. I don't know if y'all can see him up there. I got the moose. Dave and I live up here in the moose country. The mouse country out there, you see chipmunks and stuff like that everywhere. So I used to build this every week. And it's a money line, an over or an under, and a spread. So we've already decided we like the Steelers on the spread, right? We're going to take it. We're not even teasing it. We're taking the -3 on the spread, all right? We're having faith in the Steelers. All right, let's see what else. And we also felt good about you also felt good about the Rams, right? I feel pretty good about – well, actually, I feel better about the Broncos beating the Raiders. So I'm taking that on plus money, man, because that's at plus 120 already. So we got our spread. We got our money line. I'm not as convinced on the Bills as you are and the Ravens on the over-under. So let's look elsewhere. Let's look at this we have, they just took away the Philadelphia-Jacksonville game from me. I don't know what happened. But we do have the Seattle Seahawks-Detroit Lions game at 48 points. I'm probably going to tease whatever game we take. Should we tease up the Bears-Giants game? Do you think 30? That's a low line, 38.5.
38.5?
Yeah, do you think there's – well, no, here it is. They just gave me Jacksonville, Philadelphia. 44 points. What if we tease that down to 41.5? Do you think there's going to be 6 touchdowns in this game combined from both teams?
I think there could be. Yeah.
Let's just see what that does. I love tease betting. Most of the time I would tease a spread even. But I'm with you. I feel really good about the Steelers this week. I think Mitchell Trubisky's going to get it right. So we're going to look at the over-under. We're going to tease it down. We're only teasing it down 3.5. Pro tip, most of your pro bettors are teasing a full touchdown on everything they bet. That's how they bet too. So we're going to go over, correct? 41.5. Man, that's still great money, dude. That's at -153. So listen to this. Listen to this parlay we just built right here. We have Steelers. So let's start with the money line to make it the mouse, right? We got the money line on the Broncos. We just took it Mountain Country. I think, they're not being coached well. They have a lot of errors, but they're still moving the ball down the field. I think they're going to beat the Raiders. All right, then we go to the over-under, and we're taking the over, making it the moose, and that's the Jacksonville Eagles game, and we're teased it down to over 41.5. We need 42 points or 6 touchdowns with extra points. You could get there with field goals too. Field goals kind of killing over, though, so keep that in mind. And then we're taking the spread, game we've talked about since the beginning to here, Steelers, -3. That puts us at plus 594, man, for a 3-leg spread. I'm going to place a small bet on it, dude. And we're just going to give us something to cheer for a couple of games, all right?
There we go.
So plus 594. That's the Dave and Iggy special parlay. Not a same-game parlay. We went the full route, man. And we get an afternoon game, and we get 2 early games to get something to root for besides our fantasy football team, man. Hey, Dave, would you please tell everybody where to find you again, everybody you're writing for and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm writing at 4 for 4 fantasy football. I'm writing at In Between Media. It's in-betweenmedia.com. And you can find links to everything on my Twitter. Just follow me at Dave Fantasy. And that'll get you in with everything I do.
Right on, man. Well, it's we're about to go down Shakedown Street right here. We're in the fourth quarter right here, and I'm gonna be dancing with the Bears and getting my groove on the way I like to do it, my man. But
Yes,
I
sir.
always talk like I see it. That's why I wear this referee. I wear the jacket, because we're fancy class up in here, man. We keep it fancy, we keep it sophisticated. Dave,
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you being back on my first episode of the year, dude. Go follow Dave, man. He's a great guy. He's funny. He didn't really bust out as much as his comedy as I had around him in person, but he's a great guy to be around. Go follow him at 444. Go get in between. Go read some of his stuff, man. Playing since '97, you want people like that advice, man. There's not too much they haven't seen in the fantasy industry. I really do appreciate you being on there. Everybody, set your lineups. Go check the injury reports. Make sure you're good to go. You don't win by handicapping somebody, a running back or a wide receiver. You just don't win like that, okay? So go out there and get those lineups. Bet smart. Don't bet your life away. If you have any questions, please hit up Dave or I, and we'll be glad to help you out, man. Once again, Dave, I really appreciate you being here, man. I'm going to hit the outro, and you go enjoy the rest of your football Sunday, man.
Take it easy, man.